to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Schneiderman?
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara?
Here.
Councilman Martell?
Here.
Councilman Bouvier?
Here.
Councilman Schiavone?
I am present.
All right, so we are all here, and we're going to start today with an executive session. Then we'll come back at 11 to talk about the Bel Air Cove property, 20 Shinnecock Road. So, and then we have other updates and other things and other business, and we'll eventually go back into executive session on other matters later. But the first executive session is on personnel, which we have scheduled for 1 o'clock. So I'll like to make a motion to go into executive session to talk about personnel matters.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Order. So our next item would be a presentation on redevelopment of 20 Shinnecock Road, Hampton Bays. I'll do a brief introduction, then I'll kick it over to Janice. So this is the Bel Air property. If you recall, the town acquired this property. It was for sale. It was a blighted property. It had sat on the market for a long time. There were a lot of concerns about septic issues, the use of it as an apartment rather than in tourism, as the CO implied. So the town did step in, and we developed a urban renewal plan for this property, a very specific plan that considered a couple different types of uses. Both tourism's related. One would be as a hotel type of use, transient use, and the other was more of like a townhouse kind of apartment use, but more like summer residence type of thing. And so we spent a lot of time with the health department, and Janice worked really hard trying to, and this was one of the reasons why this property sat for so long, is because the health department hadn't grandfathered the flow. That's why we didn't tear down the building. A lot of people wondered about the building itself. And finally, through Janice's hard work, we got the health department to grandfather the flow at, I think, 16 units, roughly.
It's really gallons per day, and so we can talk about that.
Okay, well, hold off for a second.
So it's basically that they've approved the flow for the current use.
Okay, the current use, provided it goes through IA.
IA. So,
Right.
but the gallons per
And-
day and the equation back to how many units.
And their
is
gallons
not
per day
as
were
good.
based, I think, on 16 motel units in a house or whatever it was. So it's a certain gallonage.
It is.
Okay. And so obviously whatever happens there has to fall within that gallonage and have IA system. And so with Jim's help, we started soliciting concept plans for redevelopment of the property. The board paid, the town paid not out of CPF. We acquired this out of reserves for, I think, $1,060,000. And we've spent quite a bit, actually, on various associated expenses, cleaning up the property, et cetera. So we had said that we were, we'd allow some community input, et cetera, in terms of design and things like that. But we wanted to get some proposals, so we did was an RFQ, RFP, RFEI, one of those. Right?
RFP.
We did an RFP. We got 3 different responses with different concept plans for this property. I know Rich Carrozza, who's here, put in one of those plans. I think Campo, you're with Campo, put in a plan, and
First students.
for students, yeah,
So we
put
have-
in a proposal. So we have 3 proposals, so we thought we'd set up a work session to discuss it first with the board before we do anything with the reaching out to community stakeholders. All right, so Janice, you want
That
to?
pretty much covers it. It's just that I would just like to tell you from the RFP, and good morning, everyone. Janice Scherer, Town Planning and Development Administrator, the selection process. So in the RFP, it says the proposers will be evaluated based on the following criteria: consistency with development goals, and that was laid out in the urban renewal waterfront revitalization plan, which said it should either be staying as a tourist, like motel type of use, or going toward a residential type of use, one or the other. Proposal team, their experience and financial capacity, understanding of what we're asking, the work to be performed, the project organization and staff commitment, professional expertise, prior experience, completeness, feasibility, and quality of the scope of project and the project schedule, and clarity and conciseness of the presentation. So those are the big ticket items on who you're meeting today, on what we're looking to hear from them about. And the submission requirements have generally been met.
We didn't ask them for what they would pay for the property.
We did not yet. It
Okay.
really has to do it, and the questions from the RFP were to provide a redevelopment concept. Is it gonna be for a boutique motel or some type of seasonal or some type of townhouse? What part, if any, would the existing structure be reused, if at all? If the motel resort development is proposed, how will it meet the goals? You know, how will it improve the appearance from the street, the waterfront, you know, have appropriate architecture, support the tourism economy, reduce impacts on town and school services, reduce pre-existing residential density, provide additional property tax revenues, and provide guarantees that it will not revert to non-tourism uses. So that was the tourism side. And if you did the townhouses, same idea, improve the appearance from the street and waterfront, contextually compatible and appropriate architecture, support the second home economy, reduce impacts on town and school services, you know, reduce the pre-existing density, provide guarantees that a percentage would be restricted for tourist units. So it's interesting how we put it out there. And everybody had to include the provision, as you know, to upgrade the existing sanitary system, which is what we were working on
Okay.
with the health department. So that's kind of the criteria, just to give you a big sense of it. The first to go is Richard Carrozza.
Rich, you want to come up and,
And we
Tell
have
us a
their,
little-
they gave us, each one gave us their
this is a little bit like Shark Tank here, Rich.
proposal.
So, we want to hear your pitch.
All right, so
We want to hear about your company and what
we
you
are
plan to do.
my name of my company is the RSC Group of Companies. We're very active in the east end of the Long Island development. Currently have 14 units under construction, large single-family homes in Southampton, with a slate of 90 coming over the next 12 months in the town of Southampton, running from Eastport to East Hampton. So, been working on this project for a few years, back and forth.
Do I have a packet?
Got a little bit of a setback recently when I approached the Board of Health for an approval. And what they are looking to do is grant any septic as a senior unit no larger than 600 square feet, if it's gonna be townhouses. If it goes to a marketable type of dwelling, a townhouse, they're gonna drop it down to, they're gonna increase the flow, which is gonna lower the yield way down. So it's about 50% for senior use as compared to marketable. So it eats up most of the amount of gallons per day, therefore you lower your yield on the amount of homes you
So,
can put
again,
there.
so you're proposing 16 units.
16 senior units,
Senior is what, 55 or
65 and over.
65 and older?
They need to be very tiny, 600 square feet,
600 square feet.
700 square feet, depending on.
One story, two story?
One story.
One story, so no stairs.
I don't know if we can go two-story there because it's a flood zone and the elevation is gonna require us to go up a story.
Okay,
So if we go up a story and then we have to put 2 units above it, it's gonna require sprinklers on the second
all
floor.
right, so you're proposing a one-story development?
One-story development, high-end Hampton-style finishes, brand-new bulkhead, pool, gazebo, porches on the homes.
So these would be year-round?
There would be
Yeah,
year-round.
year-round, right? 65 and older? Yeah.
Correct.
No kids in the school, obviously?
No impairment on the school district, no problem having 40 kids show up at
So
the
600 square feet is like a one-bedroom or two?
one bedroom, living room, kitchen, dining room area, porch on the front and the back. If we could do the garage underneath, we will do that, but I'm not sure if we're gonna have the elevation to do that.
Do you have renderings?
I have one picture of something we came up with that recently, it's only the last 2 weeks. I have renderings what we were gonna do. The plan's gonna look similar to that right there, but the houses are gonna be, that's what it's gonna look like. That's 752 units together, would be 4 coupled together with,
So it would be that doubled, right? So-
correct. It would be 2 of those, it would be 4 of those across on 4 different buildings attached to each
So
other.
that's like 600 gallon flow. How does that work?
It's 100
Janice, with the
150 gallons.
duplex?
Not 100, it's 600 square feet, it's
It's
100.
600 square feet,
100
100.
So it covers,
Depending
that's
on,
the max
it
density.
depends on how many toilets.
That's the max
Bedrooms.
density. And what they say, because you're a senior, you don't use the facilities as much, so they let you raise the yield.
So you're going to, also on the pool, there's protections on that as well, correct?
Excuse me?
The protections on the pool, it's discharge.
Of course, yeah.
Cleaning and all that.
It's an IA
That
system.
takes up space.
It's an IA system.
You're running it through an IA or a separate?
Oh, not the
tank?
pool, but the pool would have its own
Pool will have its
drywall.
own system.
Okay.
Well, first thing we have to do is you have to remove the bulkhead, and we have to put a whole new bulkhead along that.
Yeah.
Well,
which
can I
is-
see that site layout? That there's, you have two different site layouts, right?
That's the one right there.
What was the other one you showed a second ago?
That was
That
just.
was a different proposal.
Oh, it's a different proposal, okay.
The
the
picture
pool's-
that you
We could
showed,
roll it to the back, if we get that slide, so we can see where the pool goes. There's a pool in the
there
back.
it is in the back.
Yeah, that's currently, it's current location, right?
It's a little off the water.
And where's your IA? Is that it on the left? there?
Yeah, but we need to move that they want along the outside wall of the property.
The
Do you want
front is where
that to
we had it.
to the north?
They want it,
But
yes,
it's
to the,
150
everything on the
gallons.
north side they want,
They want it up there. so-
right. And then the
Top.
water lines will run, that'll be a gate in the front, coming off Shinnecock Road.
I have a question about the structures. You showed us a picture, and the structures were on ground level. Considering this is in a flood zone, are they going
We just
to,
said
would
that,
this
Scott.
adhere to FEMA standards?
It's an 8 elevation, so it'll be up out of the ground.
So they're
It's
lifting the whole thing.
Okay, so the grade is
The
8,
flood certificate's in there to show.
so it's
where-
going to be at 12?
Yeah.
So there'll be stairs going up,
Correct.
or ramps, or
Right,
are stairs going to work for senior citizens?
I have no choice. No matter what you put there, it's gonna be a situation where you're gonna have to climb up. It won't be like this, it'll be meted out, it'll be like a scissor. You know, you
We
walk
we
up-
may need ramps, that's what I'm
No, we're gonna
wondering
walk
if-
this way, it's not gonna be like straight up, it's gonna be, you're gonna
Well,
come
you have to
down,
have ADA
platform.
compliance anyways.
We're gonna platform it from the street. That's
Okay.
the way you get
I
around.
like the plan, I'm not
I mean, I'm
trying to be
60,
hard time,
I'm
but I
5
wanted-
years away from
I am
65, so.
59 and
I can
7/8,
handle a
so
couple
man, I'm
stairs.
hanging on by a thread.
Till you fall.
Till I fall, right?
Until you don't. That's my
We're gonna
point.
have solar, we're gonna have a solar charging station. That's what it's gonna be for the next foreseeable future. We're gonna have the roof all solar.
What do you mean by charging station? For
Well,
vehicles or
yeah,
for?
vehicles.
Yeah. So the whole complex will run off of solar battery system?
We're gonna
or
have
is it
both.
partial?
You're gonna have regular electric to your house, but the next 5 years, it's not gonna be an easy, everybody's gonna be driving electric cars.
So you're putting solar panels on all the roofs, is that what
Correct.
you're saying? Okay. So you're gonna not just for your charging, but your power,
We're
some
gonna
of
write,
it.
everything stays on premises. You have to correct the,
No, but some of your electrical operational uses will be solar as well?
correct,
Okay.
So this isn't modular home, is it? Or it
modular
is?
home, yes.
So the energy efficiency and things like, we use New York stretch code
Off
here.
the
we
charts
have
of, off the charts.
leads.
It's all has foam to
Yeah, but it
compensate.
meets those
Yes.
standards?
We're modular builders. We have, we have 11 going up today, and we have another 100 going right behind it. So, all has to be done and sprayed, and even the basements get sprayed with foam. The actual
Yeah, but
units
there's a
is-
standard that we
Yes.
like to meet here as far as construction goes,
We have, we
on a
have
sustainability basis.
we have
That's it.
11 units open right now that you
In the
guys.
town of Southampton, right? So it meets
In the
all the
town,
town
yeah.
codes.
Okay. Just got 4 COs over the last 2 weeks, so we met everything we had to do.
And the high-end Hamptons trim, what does that look like?
6-inch moldings, all AZAC on the outside, hardy board or cedar, depending on to mix it up.
So it'll be clabbered
Architecture
looking,
shingles,
hardy board clabbered?
yes,
That's nice.
So it's a cottage style,
correct.
Mhm.
so pitch roof. So that's pretty much like that, except.
Correct.
Higher.
Except four doors rather than
Correct.
two. And then four buildings.
Correct.
And it's going to be higher than that? That was my
Yes.
question, because.
I don't know the exact
Right,
elevation on
exactly.
it, but the flood certificate we pulled said, it mentioned that being a level 8. So basically, it's a calculation from down and how much out of the ground. I don't know how to do that. I'm sure Janice does.
So you gotta do full basement then, or no? You
Can't do it.
You can't do it?
Crawl space.
Can't, there's gotta be a crawl space.
Okay.
So Janice, I'm just not entirely sure I understand this with the IA systems on this, because they're joined. Thinking of the Coast Guard station, that same split of services, so
They're
Department
not,
of Health is
those are
telling
single and
us.
separate lots, that's a
they're-
subdivision, this is a multifamily
So
situation.
are they making us split, are they making them split that, or those units share one IA
They
at a higher?
share one IA in
Okay.
the corner.
So but that's like a Fuji system with an addition on it, or is it individual IAs?
No, they're not individual
Conjunct-
IAs, it's
okay.
one IA system,
One IA system for all 16 units, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
For one IA,
Everybody pipes into the treatment.
so it's just like a small cluster?
Yep.
IA system. It's a cluster of IAs, it's not a cluster system?
It's an IA system like a Fuji or whatever.
Yeah, so-
and
but they're all
and
put in
It's got a
series.
field of
Alright.
leaching galleys.
Got it,
Right.
thanks.
I mean, so it will be removing nitrogen down to probably like 10 milligrams per liter, whatever the,
Less usually,
Less.
but yes.
okay.
Should be less.
And it'll be significantly further from the water.
Correct. They
In
want,
the
they want it
current
on the
system.
north, everything's gotta be on the north side.
So right now, the sanitary system, I think, is as close to the water as practically you can get. I think,
Yeah,
I
It's on
think
the
it's-
water. I think it's on the water, actually.
it's in the water,
Yeah,
probably.
probably, yeah.
Probably, so it would be a significant improvement.
So we're gonna put a navy bulkhead along the whole, side to expose the
There's the map
canals.
right there, you can see.
Are you proposing any public access? I
We
mean,
have to, I guess we have to give it because it's abutting the water.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, the trustees own the piece next door, so there already is
Yeah, on
public
this piece
access.
here,
Yeah,
I had asked them, actually approached them, they were not interested. They said they have a kayak club that uses this, because when I went there, this was like 5 feet high.
right.
with-
Yeah, I mean, it's not critical to have public access, I don't believe along that bulkhead
So
there,
each,
but,
each unit will get a boat slip,
Are
Oh,
you
so you-
proposing boat slips there?
yeah.
you can't get 16 boat slips.
Well, for some, this, I'm not sure the legalities of what is what here. There's a, this guy's set up on this side, I'm not sure who's, we have to figure that out legally.
Yeah, I don't know that you get boat, I mean, you
Well,
might be
this
able to
side
get one or
here
two
is-
boats.
This side here has boats on it. There's a marina right here.
That was the previous,
With the-
you
So
know,
we gotta
fishing
find out, I have to
station
find
bar.
out through Jim, what the actual allowable, who's allowed and who's not allowed.
It's very, like, the water level there isn't that great either. for
So
the
I don't think that lot line, and that's not your drawing, but I know, I've seen that also on
that triangle.
GIS, but that's incorrect. When I look at the surveys, the lot line is along the bulkhead. It doesn't have that weird,
Yeah, this is where, I see, my survey comes this way.
yeah.
That's what I
So,
think, so, that's why.
I mean,
I
this
would
is a long length here, we could definitely put several boats here.
You could put, yeah, I don't think you
Not
put
16.
16. I
I
think you
haven't,
put
I haven't sat there with a, I'm not talking about a 60-footer, I'm talking about,
little
Well, I
boats.
just, if that's a
Okay.
kayak launch, you just wouldn't wanna block anyone's access into the water with boat slips.
yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's really nice if you got a little boat out here and you wanna go out in the water.
I think
That's
you
not
could probably have
trustee-controlled, though.
four
That's an
boats or something like
artificial
that.
canal.
I just don't think you can have 16,
I mean,
but
well,
that's not critical
that's
to
the
your
plan. The
proposal.
plan is to get as many as we can.
Okay,
I'm sure these people don't all have all boats, so I mean,
yeah, you have
it's an
to,
option.
right.
Janice, I just had, just to clarify, because I'm still trying to get around this IA system, individual IAs, typically we haven't done that much. So the electrical for that, that's hooked up to the meters of the individual residents,
It'll be a homeowners association,
so it'll all go into one pot?
correct.
Okay.
It'll be a maintenance charge, because
Yeah.
the road's not gonna be a town road, so that's gonna be maintained in the driveway.
Yeah, that's my next question. So in terms of affordability,
300 amps.
since you're doing 16 senior units, do you know what your rents are? Are you willing to, keep it relatively affordable to people?
I'd
Is that,
like
they're
to-
not rents, they're gonna be home ownership?
Home ownership.
So you gotta do a condo plan?
We're gonna do a condo plan, and we're going to follow the guidelines of the town on what their senior process is.
Okay, but in terms of the selling price, I mean, obviously you have two that are water view, two buildings, and two that are not water view, so there's obviously a
It's
difference.
supposed to be a premium for those, but it'll be affordable.
And you have, I think, Jim, what's the law? You have to do, what, two
It's
of them?
20%, so it'll be
Yeah, it'd be 20%.
4.
4 units?
If you could get fully 16, which is not necessary.
But let's say you can get 16, so 4 would have to be
It's
affordable?
like
Yes.
1 per 5 essentially, so, yeah, so
It's
So you have to-
3.2, which we always round up.
Yeah, so 4 of them. I was planning on 4.
4 affordable, which probably we won't be able to sell them for that much, like 300, I don't know what the number is, 300,000, 320,000. But then the other market rate ones, do you know what you're looking for in terms of the market rate units?
7.
700,000? Okay. It's still relatively affordable.
I mean, you buy a.
One bedroom,
you
One
buy-
bedroom.
one bedroom,
Yeah.
600 square feet,
Oh my God.
700,000.
Yeah, but near the beach.
You're paying a premium for the amp.
On the water with a pool. I think that's for a condo, not a co-op, so it seems okay.
You rent anything in Hamptons, if you rent out here, when you come from east to west, you want to be out here.
Do you offer in-house financing or no?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a bank, we build our own stuff, we're in-house, own attorneys.
Oh,
We
you
want to be out here,
competitive,
we want to build out here.
competitive rates?
We made it competitive, we made a business decisions to build on the east end, and we're making our way, taking our lumps, but we're making our way.
All right. Any other questions? Because we have 2 other presenters. Rich, stick around in case we want to come back to you
Got it.
after we've heard some of the
Thank
others.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, next is Campo.
Forgive my mask, I got some underlying conditions, so
That's all right.
can't
No-
take any risks.
No apologies necessary. Do what you have to. What's your name, sir?
David Madigan, I've worked with Jack Campo for 43 years. We're just getting to know each other. And he's out of state, so that's why he's not here. And he asked me to come out and do the presentation. Mr. Campo has built over 2,000 houses, more than 500 apartments, and he's currently done at least 50 units in the Hamptons. He's got a project right now in front of Southampton for 25 units in, single-family homes in Hampton Bays. And he's an tremendously experienced builder.
I thought that was under construction. Is that?
We
no?
did the cut, they cut for the road, yeah, the road's all in.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty much done as far as.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. He would like to build 16 rental units, 2-story, 950 square feet each, 2 bedrooms. The timeline for construction would be less than a year from receiving the permits. The sanitary would be an IA for each building if necessary, or whatever the health department dictates. No basement. The parking would be on-site, surface parking, 28 units by code, 28 stalls rather by code. For amenities, he'd have a clubhouse, a pool, a rec room. There'd be a mail kiosk and a centralized refuse removal. Each unit would have a vestibule, separate alarm, and security. There's 1 meter for the entire project, one light meter, and each unit would be serviced with gas and HVAC. They're walk-ups. Each unit on the second floor would have a sun deck, and each unit on the first floor would have a patio. And these are for rental,
These are rental units.
rental units.
Are they affordable or are they just market?
I imagine what's required by code will be affordable, but I don't think he's going for, $10,000 a month here. We haven't determined the rental rate yet, but I'm assuming, based on the size, they're not gonna be terribly expensive.
But they're not home ownership, they're rental.
They're rentals,
Can I
yeah.
ask, and maybe this is a question for Janet, so you're proposing 16 units like the first presenter, but the first presenter said it was 600 square feet, yours are 950.
Yes.
He said that was the maximum he could get to based on the health department, and it would have to be seniors. And also, he had concerns about the height, so he kept it one story because of the floodplain. Can you even build what is being proposed there,
It may be bigger than what we could,
based on what the health department
Yeah.
is giving us?
Well, when you use IA systems,
No, we know that, but even with the IA system, you can't go above a flow that the health department is grandfathering. Has this been calculated, the flow for this?
well, for the existing use is the only thing we've gone for. So if someone wanted to put in like a baby best or some type of
Isn't that
sewage
sound-
treatment, that would be different.
That's different.
But this
But you're not
is
proposing sewage treatment, you're proposing IA, right?
the
that's
flow
what's
right
being
now,
proposed, but if the health department dictates a sewage treatment, then we'd have to do that.
it's about 1,862 gallons right now, the density load. But that's with very small motel units.
That's what the health department gave us, or that's
Yeah.
what this proposal is?
That was how
No,
many
that's what
rooms?
the
Health department is how much?
1,862, so
1862.
it's really only like, it depends on the size of the units.
1862 gallons per day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
No.
Is that based on standard nitrogen
Those
loading
are
of a
little tiny motel
conventional
rooms.
Yeah.
septic system?
It was based on
That's
like
with
what we were
cesspools,
able to
right?
demonstrate
Right.
of the motel. We
That's-
requested like
That's the grandfather flow that they
2,300,
have.
Yeah.
and they discounted some because of the,
So we got 1862.
correct,
I think
0.5.
So the
motel
question
is
is,
like
if we
150.
reduce the nitrogen, does the flow
You
increase?
see this chart right here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Say that again?
I guess the question is, if we can significantly reduce the nitrogen, can the flow increase? Right? Because the flow is predicated on standard septic systems. I believe it's about 62 parts per billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, they
I won't
calculate
start
it differently
quoting.
with an IA.
But, all right, but my overall point is, if we can reduce the nitrogen, does the flow rates go up?
No.
Okay. But they're willing to grandfather
There
that
could be
That's
super
flow.
offsets
They don't
and other
do that.
things
They
that,
won't do it.
we haven't tried to do because it's,
No,
first
if
we
you
wanna
didn't-
see
It's very
what we
hard
wanna
to
do,
measure
and
what
then
a
we'll figure out.
contribution
We-
really is.
Right now, we just looked at what is the actual flow today.
Let me try to add some info to that. So if there were no building there and the land were just vacant, the county would probably let you build 2 houses there, something like that, as of right, maybe 3. They will let you grandfather the flow as long as you go to an IA system. So you can't go back to conventional sanitary system. And so their flow calculations were based, which, Genesis provided me, so it gets to 1862 with the single-family residence that was there, plus the other units that are varying in size and flow. They won't let you go above that.
Not without
Without
a
a
convention,
system.
while you're
Not
on
without
IA, you would have to have a baby best or some other type of treatment
You have to
system.
switch to more of a sewage treatment facility,
right.
which adds, another like $1 million to the cost.
Right.
At 16 units almost,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
So at this size, I would think you're looking more at like,
So-
8 to 10.
so you're saying you might need sewage treatment to do what you're proposing. But also, I'm concerned about conformity with the urban renewal plan as we approved it. There were 2 options. One was a motel use, which was up to 22 units, but the health department isn't going to give us 22, it'll give us only 16, basically. So 16 units of motel units. And then townhouses, there was a maximum square feet, I think, of like 14,500,
15,000.
15,000 square feet. I don't know if this is
At
within it.
950 square feet per unit,
Um,
times 16.
Yeah, and then there
Is
was
the total square footage, can you tell us that?
Roughly 950
950 times 16.
times 16, yeah.
I don't recall, was it a hog maximum, or was it around, was it like an estimate? I don't recall.
15.2, so that's around what you
It's
said.
approximately, okay, so it might conform to that, but we said, it said 12 units, so that didn't have to be 12, but it,
I don't think
It
This
was,
is
it was the
60.
max
It
on
wasn't a
the, number, the square footage.
max on the square footage, right?
Right.
Um,
But this would, doesn't, really show FEMA compliance, so you can't really gauge, that mass at a higher,
Right.
like,
But it does
that's part of
appear
it.
that they, based on this, I mean, we could calculate the flow, but they couldn't do this with IAs. It sounds like they'd have to go to sewage treatment. Do you have
Yeah.
a plan that shows sewage treatment and the conformance with the setbacks?
We have, I have plans here, but
Right.
it doesn't show sewage treatment.
Right, because there's different setbacks, right, for sewage treatment?
Mhm.
But there's still single units at 950, right? 1 or 2 bedrooms?
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. So how does that equate with DOE? 2 bedrooms at this flow rate?
Like I said, I don't think you would be able to get
They
to
have to build
16
it. Yeah.
without, using the IA or,
Yeah.
model. You would have to have some kind of baby batch system or some type of small STP
Right.
to get
What about a
there.
Pine Barrett credit
But you could,
acquisition?
so I did ask them about things like that, and there is, they call it a super offset, where you have to transfer in like 2 to 1 or something credit, so that is a possibility,
Yeah, that's probably the way he would go.
yeah.
And you're running the.
But that would be at his own, like, we've got, like, what we did was just to, the approvals for what's existing now
And let's just
today,
say, this
so-
is directly on the waterfront
Right.
too, so.
But now, I know we had helped with affordable housing on the other project in terms of credit, sanitary credits, but this is not affordable housing, this is market rate.
And it's right on the water.
Yeah, we can't give any credits unless it's affordable. Like, that's
Right,
the
so you have to
only
go out
way
and
we-
purchase them,
You have to buy them, yeah.
and it's gonna add to the cost too.
So I had the same question on this as I did on the previous presenter, the sustainability aspects of it. Doesn't sound like you're using solar or renewable energy. You're using some gas, fossil fuels, natural gas.
HVAC, yeah.
HVAC.
Gas HVAC, for
Okay.
heat and air conditioning.
All right, but you don't contemplate using any,
Not at this time, but that
Okay.
all will depend upon the approval process.
sure.
Right.
Is there a natural gas main on that street, or would it be propane?
I don't know the answer to that.
Liquid petroleum?
But the builder for Mr. Campo did a lot of research on this, so I'm assuming he found gas in the street.
I'm not sure about
I
that.
don't
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know,
not,
you have
I don't know.
a condo at the old Allen's Acres, I don't know.
I don't
know
think
if
there's a
gas
natural
there.
gas there. It would have to be propane.
Pretty sure it went down Ponquag because it
Yeah.
was incorporated in the new firehouse.
It
I
was?
don't know if it makes the turn though when it gets.
Yeah,
to
whether it goes
Ponquag,
up there,
yeah.
that's the,
That can be investigated.
I used to be stationed at the Coast Guard station out there for 4 years, and I seem to remember a gas heater there, but I can't be
Yeah,
sure.
but it
of
might have
that.
been gas tanks buried somewhere too,
Could be.
yeah. All right, any other questions for the Campo rep?
No?
So I mean, my biggest concern is I don't know that you can actually do what you're proposing. We have to vet that
Yeah,
in terms of the gallons per day. If you go to sewage treatment, I don't know, you can locate a sewage treatment facility here that meets the setbacks, you might need variances.
how about Pine Barren credits?
Or you can go Pine Barrens credit, it's gonna change your numbers.
Go to double density.
And I don't even know that you can get there even with Pine Barrens to that
to
level.
that, yeah.
But, and then we also have to just check it with conformance against the approved urban renewal plan. But basically, this is 16 units of rental apartments, 950 square foot, 2-story. Each one is a 2-story unit, right?
No,
Oh, you have some ups and downs?
some up and down, yeah.
Okay. So you have up a level and low
So
level.
each building is a quad.
And then you have a pool still, and,
Yeah, a pool, and there is, what was the other one I had here?
You have the pool listed at 50 by 20, 50 feet by 20 foot wide?
I think so, yeah.
Probably a
And,
little bigger.
and
That's a
and
little,
the rec room.
Kind of an odd dimension for a pool.
well, but it's bigger than the current pool. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, standard pool is 16 by 32, but, trying to make it conform with the size of the property.
Uh-huh. Okay. Any other questions?
There is gas.
There is gas? Yes? Is
There is?
Yeah.
Right down Shinnecock.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Stick around in case there's further questions as
Okay.
we go through the last presenter.
Take
Jen,
back your,
what's the name of the company on this
the
last one?
last one is called First Dunes, and the representative is Chad Gesson.
Oh, somewhere in there is my agenda.
Give us 1 second.
I don't have that many copies of this one.
Oh,
Okay.
we need it.
So there's a little more sharing going on here. Okay.
Okay.
Guys.
All right, Chad, you want to take it?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Chad Gesson from First Dunes. I have my father Harvey here. We've been working together in family business for 20-plus years. Harvey, prior to, was with Island Estates, and built a couple thousand homes on the east end of Long Island in town of Brookhaven. We also are condominium developers in New York City, so we built several buildings in both Manhattan and Brooklyn. And First Dunes, under that name, we have built 30 houses on Dune Road and a varying amount out through the town of Southampton and in West Hampton Beach. We basically specialize in coastal property, so bayfront and waterfront. We also, in the past 10, 15 years, have been really focused on energy efficiency, so we built one of the first Energy Star homes on Long Island. The last building we built in New York City was a LEED Gold approved building. Generally speaking, we think that energy efficient and airtight construction runs with coastal construction because it prevents deterioration of the structure and all of that. We've recently been taking a transition in the past 3 years as we've made our houses more energy efficient to get away from gas because the heating systems are too powerful for the houses and causes humidity problems. So we're pretty much only using inverter heat pumps now and induction cooking in the homes. And so the idea we had for this property was inspired by, we bought a piece of property down on Dune Road that is we call it now the Beach and Bay Bungalows. It used to be called the West Bay Cabanas. It was established in 1942. It's some 650 square foot, 8 detached cottages on a 160-foot parcel on the bayfront. They were reused. They were formerly Air Force barracks from Graysky Airport that were put on the property. And we've come in and we've restored them, rebuilt them, we've just revitalized them and rebuilt them. And we're operating that as a seasonal hotel. It's our plan there is either to, convert that to two single-family homes, or we're also considering doing similar to this plan, a condominium development where they become individual seasonal residences. And so we were sort of inspired by that use after operating that property for 3 years. This property is similar dimensionally, and your RFP asked for 12 seasonal single-family, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot structures, and we followed the septic plan that you guys provided, that you drew, that I had on there that it had 2550 GPD flow, but...
We did try for that, but we didn't get as much as,
Okay, so we took the assumptions based upon what
Yes,
you guys gave us from where you're at with the health department. So we may be off or not. We haven't really done that analysis because we trusted on that. To the conversation about flood zone before,
What would that mean, though? Would that mean you have to remove a unit, or?
I think you're good at 12 units anyway with the 1862. I didn't do the math while I was sitting here, but
it depends on the size. Can you go to his
Well, at 16, it was
elevations
okay.
they're 1,200, but we did that based on the RFP, so we can also trim the square footage a little bit too.
Okay.
And it's 2-bed, 2-bath, so I think you'll be all right on because they didn't do the flow on bathroom count, right? For this,
it's
yeah,
bedroom.
on bedroom count rather. Yeah, so I think you'll be okay.
All right, well, let's just assume that.
Yeah,
We
We'll
can-
have
we
to,
can find that out
kind of
later.
Reassess what, based on that, which was just recently.
you guys just got that, I guess, yeah.
Right.
So, and that you guys show an IA system on the north west corner of the property, so that's why we situated the pervious parking lot up there, so that would be gravel parking. If you could see it from our site plan, sort of the idea we wanted to have was have a car-free community within the actual community, so that the parking would be all out by the road in a landscape gravel parking lot.
Where's your IA there? Is it-
We don't have it shown here, but it's if you look in the upper left corner, that's where most of the structures of the IA system are in that area.
Okay.
And you guys drew it as drivable, so so we took that.
It's proved to be under,
You can put it on their parking area?
Yeah, the flood zone here is AE8, so that means the first floor elevation has to be 10. a lot of the contours on the property are 10 already. You're going to do a pretty massive excavation to put in that big septic system. So our expectation was that maybe the bulkhead needed to be amended a little bit and raised slightly to get to a ground elevation of average 10. And then that's really just 2 steps up to the first floor. So that's kind of the idea that we're presenting here. Maybe you could scroll to the next image for the houses. Appreciate that.
Well, just stop
Yeah.
there, Mike. Oh, you want to keep
There's the
going?
better one.
Yeah, so this is like a first concept for this that we're still playing with. The idea we're trying to do is grab some daylight above the for the living space to do an upside down house, because there's really not a lot of view shed down on the ground level there, but you'll at least get some skyline if you get up higher, and give some more privacy on that first floor. So that's why there's not a lot of windows down on the first floor. They're strategically placed so that you're looking at not other homes or other cottages right there next to you, but actually have some privacy in the bedrooms. And if you look at the site plan, I'm sorry to jump back and
Is
forth.
that 1 unit or 2 units?
That's one unit.
That's one
so they're
unit.
all single and separate, and we're
But they're-
playing.
So they're each 2-story?
They're each 2-story. You got the RFP asked for. Sorry, I think it was an 8% lot coverage. In here, it was the number converted to like 8% lot coverage. So there's a very tight footprint to get that square footage. So we tried to hit that number on the lot coverage. Sorry.
So can you just talk me through that site plan for a
Yeah,
second?
so I'll-
Those buildings,
I'm going to stand over here so I can see
each,
it.
each one of, there's 12 rectangles?
Each one is its own separate
1, 2, 3,
structure. You've got a gravel path.
Sir, I'm sorry, maybe turn the mic so we can get you on the.
Oh, I got it. So there's 12 of those buildings,
Yeah, there's
each like what you just showed. And those buildings are 2-story, and what is it, upstairs is the bedrooms? Upstairs the living room?
Upstairs is the living space, and downstairs is the bedrooms.
Downstairs is bedroom. There are 2 bedrooms downstairs, and then kitchen, living room upstairs.
Correct. Yeah, and a powder room upstairs. And then we've got a little walking path over by the bulkhead. We're planning to provide community kayaks. There's not really much space on that bulkhead for docking boats, so we plan to provide a couple kayaks for the community, electric bikes for the community also, so that you can get over to the beaches on Dune Road. A small clubhouse, the pool basically in the existing location. And then this tennis court was meant to be 4 pickleball courts, but a sport court, so a fully pervious system. And yeah, so it's supposed to be a serene sort of native vegetation community once you get past the parking lot, which would then have the place where the storage for the bicycles would be. And going back to the construction of the houses, we're planning to do prefabricated also. We don't use spray foam because of the global warming potential and the formaldehyde. So we typically use a stone wool insulation and things like that, and focus on getting our energy efficiency through passive house construction means, so super airtight exterior insulation, that type of stuff. So, and that's what we're going to shoot for. So we'll well exceed the town's HERS rating that you'd require for like a 5,000 square foot house. We're going to go for passive house certification on these because they're so small. You know, they just kind of fit the bill for that.
Would they considered like a tiny home, or no, they're bigger than
They're
that?
not quite a tiny home, but they're small enough with that density of 2 beds and 1,200 square feet that, and you know, the orientations and by trimming down the number of windows on the facade, that also, you know, gives you enough wall surface area that you can get the U value of the overall building to a place where you can hit that passive house number.
Kind of reminds me of Colorado, you know, the Colorado ski home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the look, it's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't think the colors on the facade were maybe a little dark for us, but on the first run, but I think it's a cool start. Maybe the roof pitch is a little steep, but
Are you doing any solar or no?
we'll see. I mean, the aesthetics of solar are a little
It's
tough.
passive solar, basically, designed.
Yeah.
It's not active.
Yeah, to us, it's like, you know, putting solar panels on there to pick up 2 kilowatts. It's, you know, I'd rather just save the energy on the front end and, you know, let it come from the grid for that. But
Well, it's worth talking about,
yeah, it's worth thinking about.
particularly with some of the initiatives in the town.
Yeah.
That's important, that's an important issue.
Okay.
And we do have ground-based solar, but you don't have any room there, but, you know, you should bear that in mind too.
Okay, I mean, the aesthetics are usually the concern for us with it, but if it's something that you know is desired, it's easy add-on.
The waterfront, you doing anything with the waterfront? Probably rebuilding the bulkhead, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the documents we got from the town indicated the bulkhead was functional, so we would obviously redo the boardwalk, and if it needs an extension, the survey from Rain Remarks wasn't like super clear as to the top of bulkhead elevation, so if it's too low, then we'll have to extend it to make the grading work potentially, and obviously the walk in front of the bulkhead has to be redone.
So you're doing a condo plan here?
Yeah, it would be a condo plan.
And Do you know what your ultimates, well, you'd have to do what, one affordable in this case, is 12 units, or two?
Two.
Does
Well,
anybody
let me
know?
ask you this, are you
Is
doing
20%?
this as resort tourism condo?
Yes.
or-
Yeah, you guys had in there, you were looking for a seasonal restriction.
Not
We-
necessarily, but
yeah.
it's a thought, yeah.
We were
Scroll down.
thinking to just propose a 90-day occupancy
Oh,
restriction
yeah.
instead, so that you
Scroll
just
on.
can't stay there for more than 3 months at a stay. You'd have to be switching over and using
So
it
you
like.
close it for the winter, basically.
Yeah,
Not necessarily?
maybe. You know, when they're built passive house, they're really comfortable in the winter. So, and we have like the bungalows that we own down on Dune Road. They're from the 40s, so you can't make it past November 15th without the pipes. All the water runs under the walkways there, so we have to shut them down once the freeze happens. But we're popular in like when it's 45 degrees outside and windy on the water. Like people come out, they like it. So I think that the part, sort of the economics for the buyers of these things would be being able to put them into the short-term rental market and having the condominium manage that for them, and allow them to earn some revenue on these homes when they're not using them. And that's sort of the quid pro quo for the 90-day max stay, so they can get a full summer stay, but they're gonna have to take a break and rent it out to somebody.
So, all right, I see, so they could use it up to 90 days, but they could rent it the
Yeah.
rest of the time?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so you'd have a rental program of some sort?
Yeah, run through, we run that down on Dune Road already, so we would be the property manager for this and provide that service.
And so, I don't know what the law is, but you might have to do two of these that are affordable.
Mhm.
I don't know what means in terms of numbers, but the market rate ones, do you know what you're looking for?
I mean, I think the good references, we've been almost involved in a bunch of times on the Ponquag Manor project, and you can see that one's now sitting over on Foster, sitting there trying to get over $1 million for this type of thing. We've sort of, for the past 10 years, been telling developers of that project that the top number is like $750,000 for that kind of product down there. So we're thinking the sweet spot over here is like in the mid-6s, low 7s,
For a separate cottage, though?
Yeah.
A two-bedroom cottage? No, yeah, okay. With a tennis court, or whatever it is? and a
Yeah,
pool?
pickleball court. Pickleball's like, that's the thing now.
Oh, you don't have to tell Jeff.
I mean, I live in Williamsburg. I refer to the pickleball scene as metastasizing. It's what happened over
Yeah,
the
don't say
summer.
anything negative about pickleball.
I like it, but it's
It's
just
getting to be
I
like
play almost every
cucumbers.
day.
cool. Yeah, no, it's cool, and the sport
It's
courts
a
are great. Because they don't provide. And I don't know, like, I'm not clear on the town's perspective on this. Like, I know DEC would consider it lot coverage under a sport court. I don't know what the town's pervious, standard is for that.
We wouldn't count it as coverage if
You
it
wouldn't-
didn't have a roof over it.
Okay, so it's as in, even, but what if it was like, tennis courts coverage? Regular tennis court asphalt.
Oh, yeah,
Because there's
but not like impervious surface area.
Yeah.
So I guess lot coverage.
Because the sport courts meet like most of the village codes and town codes for perk rating, but DEC likes to see the sunlight go through it for it to not be coverage. Like they want to see 50% open to the sun. So anyway, we'll get
Yeah,
into that later.
sure.
Sport courts don't do that. They block the sun, but they let the water through.
Okay, so any other questions? So it's kind of an interesting proposal of tourism, rental, short-term rentals, as well as, as longer use.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a hotel, I don't know, it's a mix.
It's like if you think about
hybrid.
like the way Bath and Tennis in West Hampton Beach is structured, that's a co-op, right? So people own those. If they don't stay there, then they go into the pool and they can get rented out by the hotel manager. So that's where and then there's I think maybe 20% of them happen to just still be owned by the hotel
I mean,
itself,
currently, we have a limitation on rentals of 2 weeks or longer.
which is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
But,
pretty typical.
But at a hotel, you don't have that restriction. You could rent it by the night. So it is in a zone right now that's residential,
yeah,
though a sliver of the property is in RWB, which is a resort zone.
so we'll see. I mean, if in the process we don't have to have that restriction, that's great. But it's also not that big of a limiter because the 1 weekend rentals are usually pretty not good for the property. So
Yeah,
most of the
it
time
may
people
not,
prefer.
if some people are using it for the whole summer, it might conflict.
Yeah,
If you have weekenders there. so.
you're going to end up with a condo bylaws that also are going to be probably as restrictive or more restrictive than the town's code
Right.
anyway. So,
Yeah, so
you-
you're probably fine with a 2-week minimum.
yeah, I don't think it matters, yeah.
Do you foresee a manager and an on-site manager here? for
No, this
something?
wouldn't, it's not big enough to require an on-site manager, but it'll
Uh-huh.
have, property management, that's, nearby, that's a local, business, We've used a company called Stay Marquee recently for our property, but we're sort of transitioning to just taking that under self-management now.
So there is property management, not on-site?
Yeah.
Because of, okay.
So I know that the restaurant bar next door has their parking lot up front.
Yeah.
On your plan, I don't see any real buffer. I mean, most homes on that road would have hedges or something out front to soften the look.
Yeah, it needs to be added. We need to give a better hedgerow or something in front of their privates or holly or something just to soften it up.
definitely gotta
Yeah,
have
that definitely needs to get incorporated. Yeah, we want it to be contextual with the rest of that block. I think like you can see the post and rail fences happening. I think that's pretty common to what we would want to do, and we want the landscaping to not feel like we plucked it out of Melville. We want it to look like it's local native species that would grow there.
Great, thank you.
So those are just walkways, right? There's no.
Yeah, they're just gravel walks. Yeah.
Gravel walkways, okay.
So the idea is you'll have some hand trucks. You take your stuff from the car, like if you're living in a marina. You load a little hand truck, walk it down to
Do
your
you
cottage.
have to do a certain amount of ADA
I don't.
accessibility? I mean, could somebody who's wheelchair dependent be able to?
We'd have to look at that potentially, but then we would we'd probably have to make one. I have to look and see what the
Yeah, it
town
might be
codes for
one
ADA
unit,
is.
might
Does
have
it?
to be,
You probably have to move that one under the cul-de-sac up toward that parking area on the right, and
Yeah.
then you would, be able to access it.
Well, the walkway would be ADA compatible,
Yeah.
but it would really just be the issue of providing cooking services on the ground level, for one unit, I would think. But, we also could look at this as an HOA, in which case you might not need to do the ADA if they were. I didn't propose it originally that way because I think with the health department, it's much more controversial to have fee simple homes connecting to a common system than it is to have a condominium connecting to that.
That's right.
So, and get it, but it's a trade-off.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
All right, does the board have any questions for either Janice or any of the presenters, or all still here? So Janice, maybe take us through the, next steps here. This is obviously something we don't do every day. We don't buy properties typically for redevelopment purposes. This is sort of unprecedented, but I think very positive. We have 3, I think, exciting proposals personally. So we did say in there, we haven't discussed what any of the proposals would pay the town,
Not yet. no.
right? So, and, I certainly, we need to get all of our money back, right? So, and I'm assuming that the developer will tear down, nobody's talking about reusing the current building, so the demolition costs will be on them. And then we, I guess, could determine what our bottom number is. I don't know how that works, but obviously I had said that if we get more than what we have spent, that the money would get reserved. This was part of our urban renewal proposal for blight mitigation in the Hampton Bays area. I think it was in the urban renewal plan, at least as a suggestion. So, I'm not saying that we should be unreasonable here, but we should certainly at least get our money back, and if we get a little beyond our money, because we bought it at the right time. But we would have to have that conversation with the proposals in terms of what they're willing to pay for the property.
Well, since we put out the RFP and now that we know what the health department will approve as far as the existing flow, it may be, where they want to right-size them, sort of level it so that everybody is meeting that flow requirement, so you're sort of leveling
So give
them.
these 3 the ability to make sure they
re-
comply with the health department?
Yeah, because maybe it's not 12, maybe in this case it's 8, and maybe in the other one it was 10, whatever. I'm not sure, because it depends on the size. You'd have to equate it to the amount of flow, or if they
Do we
really
want, should we set a number in terms of, this is what we're willing to sell the property for?
I don't know.
Would that be helpful?
That I don't know, but I think that what's important
I
is
don't know how
that
you
everybody's
determine
sort
that,
of,
Well, I know we
you
have.
don't
a-
wanna pick the one
we-
that's like, I am gonna do all this and you can't even do that. So I feel like the
Right, yeah.
leveling process might be appropriate here, where we're
Right.
all talking about the same scale and
Yeah.
size. And then you can then maybe take that back out to the community and see how everyone reacts. But to, in Hampton Bays, initially the reaction will be, well, we don't want, 16, we don't, whatever. I'm just saying that but if you can't get 16 and you can only get 12, then we wouldn't want to knock you out. We want to be able to say, okay, everybody has to do this now.
Yeah.
So just, reorient,
I think
Where it
that-
makes
the same
financial
amount.
sense to, yeah.
based on the flow that we now know, right? Or propose to us how you're going to accomplish this with
Right.
the STP component.
Right, I think you can put it on the responders at this point. They can also speak with the health department, they can talk with them and see what the health department comes up with their individual proposals. It's board of review, there's a lot of different ways to,
So I
that
think-
they can
Right,
address
so
issues
leave
with
it
the.
at
with
December,
the-
like, we're not going to the board of review
Yeah.
and doing all that stuff. We just
No,
wanted to
that
say,
would be
here
up to
it
them.
is, as is,
Right.
this is the
Yeah.
flow associated with it, and that was what we set out to do.
Right.
So we're not going for variances or anything.
No, not us, no.
So it would
shouldn't
be on them, but I'm just saying, the next step in my mind is to all be playing from the same level.
Right. So in terms of the selling price, obviously the higher the selling price is, the more they have to charge for the units, right? So to make the numbers work, so.
Yeah, but that gets
I
back
think
to
you
the
just have to
cost
settle
of it.
on what you
I
want
think,
first,
well,
and
we,
then worry
I
about
think we have to
agree.
start
the
with what we
numbers.
have in. We know we spent $1,060,000 to
Right,
acquire
right.
it. Then we spent some money boarding it up, we
Right.
spent some money on legal, we spent so let's say all in, we have $1,200,000.
Right.
That's pretty much,
Right,
that breaks us even.
Right, that would be kind of a bottom line upset price if when we're at that point where we're looking to put it out, discuss price with the.
Right, now if somebody wants to give us more than 1.2,
Right.
then the extra money goes into
Right.
But like,
mitigation.
say you didn't want 16 boat slips or something, and they're banking on the fact that they were, I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
have to
sure.
kind of sort of say now, out of these, what you like and don't like, and level it so that everybody's
Right.
the same, and then bring it to,
Right.
then I think there should be a revision process where everyone sort of get their proposal straight, and then
Right.
go to
Yeah,
the
I think the
community
planning
and say, how do you, get some input there, and then move on and make, select your best,
Right,
the one you
so,
like
yeah,
the
so we have
best.
to, yeah, I think you're right. So we basically have to know that everybody is willing to pay a minimum 1.2, right?
Right.
1.2, if you're not willing to pay 1.2, then you're sort of out. So if you're willing to pay 1.2 and you can conform with the health department numbers,
Planning stuff.
we can take this to the next level, which would be some kind of community vetting.
Right, but also
Well, not just
let's-
the health.
I think that we have to conform with the number we're saying, which we didn't know when we issued the RFP.
Right, so it has to conform to that number,
The
the
1862.5.
1862. Right, so then you guys would have to go back, make sure you comply with 1862. Rich, can you comply with 1860? You can, you don't know if you can. You think you can, you might have to tweak a little bit.
Or they get health department approval, whatever that is.
Well, I think
mean,
we
it
should
could be-
just, you should say, I'm willing, you have to know your bottom number is based on the 1862. If you can't go any further with the health department, that's as
Yeah.
far as we could take you.
But
Yeah,
included
you're right.
in that are some of
That's
the,
what we have, sort of.
But you might have to
That's
do
as far
one
as we-
credit or something, and that's not so
That's
bad.
on their own
That's it.
balance sheet,
but we
right?
also have some other considerations here as a town. We have energy goals, and I appreciate your presentation, because you appreciate that we want to meet, and we have to meet them. We've set our own goals for a variety of reasons, and that has a cost associated with it. So how these are built is important. That's going to be a burden on the developer to meet and to still make it affordable at the price that the supervisor suggested.
So
But
can we
I
ask
think
for
you
a
guys all
revision?
get that. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, and I've said even in the urban renewal plan that we wouldn't necessarily just take the highest number offered. We want to come up with a plan that we felt was best for the community, even if it wasn't as high a number as somebody else. And so, I'm willing to, as long as we get our money back, I'm okay with that. I think John's point about sustainability and energy, and that was in the urban renewal plan, I believe, too. So I think if the first two thresholds is that we get our money back, so everybody's willing to pay the town if they are selected $1.2 million. 'cause
Or
that's-
more.
Or more, but at least 1.2, right? So that's a threshold. If you can't pay 1.2, then we can't continue to look at you. And then you have to meet that health department number. However you get there,
Yeah.
you have to meet it.
You have to
Well,
meet
have
it.
to meet health
and
department approval.
You
It
have
could
to be able to
more
get
than-
health department approval,
Right.
but you have to be able to demonstrate what it's gonna look like meeting the flood zone. The sort of, it would be nice, the next step, to see, now what you've done to like an actual rendering, like render work, get a renderer of what, we saw the
How it's gonna look on the
how it's gonna
property.
look from the road, like if just one view shed would be nice from everyone to see it, so you really
So
have.
rendering from the street, what it would look like.
I
For
would
the
think
community
For the
to,
community to be able to really understand this, I mean, we can see the individual.
Rich, are
like,
you able to do that?
Do anything you want.
All right, you
so
can do that?
a rendering.
What, you can do that, what it's gonna look like from the road?
kind of already did, so.
All right, so, and then,
I think you have to right-size the site plan to this number we're giving you, and then think about, and then when you come back, it would be, well, we're gonna ask for this super offset, or we're gonna put in this STP, how are you gonna overcome that to achieve the number you're looking for, or you've scaled down to the number that we're.
right,
we're
and so
talking
I don't think we need to come back to a work session. I think they need to come back to us saying that we could comply with those three things.
about. Mhm.
And then I think the next step is the community,
Yes.
right? We gotta get the community involved. We said we would, and we
Right,
have.
But it just should be like apples to
We
apples
have
is what I'm
three
trying to get at.
what's interesting is we have three fundamentally different proposals, right? One is sort of tourism-related, small, seasonal houses. We have one that's senior restricted, small units. Both of those are condo plans, and then we have a third that is 16 units of rental, which is slightly larger units. So we have, three distinct proposals. And and we have three distinct designs. I'd love to get some community input to say, yeah, here's why I like this one, here's why I don't like this one, that kind of thing. And we have to also, as a board, determine what that community engagement's going to look like. Is this something, do we want to set up a review committee? Do we want to just, I don't want to make everybody go out to, the civic and the beautification groups and the PTAs of the world. I think we have to figure out, we can do it online. We can do, post the plans online and get some input there. But we have to have a conversation of what that community vetting process is going to look like.
We could have a public work session and then maybe follow up
part
with
of
an
it right here.
online.
We could do a work session in Hampton Bays, right? We could do that, invite everybody. And
Yeah, I think we should. There were so many variables when this first came about. People wanted the 55 and over, who wanted to keep kids out of the school district that was overflowing at the time. A lot of that has changed. You're going to get calls for some more public access, even though there is the trustee road next door. So there's a lot of other factors.
But some people wanted to park here, but we
And that's the other thing,
chose not to do that route.
$1.2 million in the world of CPF, this could be preserved and have total
anymore.
public access.
Not anymore. That's off
Yeah.
the table. We own it. We can't
We
use
own it,
CPF
yeah,
funds.
We can't
Yeah, we
can't
buy
buy
it
it for
from
ourselves.
Yeah, we can buy it. Okay.
No, but, the idea, I don't know if you were on the board at the time, but
No.
the decision was to keep it on the tax rolls.
Mhm.
And put people here who might actually shop in the local stores, eat at the local restaurants, support the economy, but not put necessarily kids into the school system.
Right.
And it's hard to prevent that. We could look at the models, you have one that's rental housing, I think 2-bedroom units that probably would produce more kids than, let's say, a seasonal type of use. And that's something I think the board has to look at. But that was one of the things to look at in the urban renewal plan is in the RFP is what the impacts on community services were. So We decided not to do a park. We have so many parks in Hampton Bays, so much waterfront access, including right next door to this. The idea was to help lower other people's property taxes by having a tax rateable here without the kids. And that was a decision that was made. Not everybody agreed with it. There was definitely a contingent that wanted CPF to buy it. That would have been an easy lift for us, but we said, we're trying to revitalize tourism in this area and support the local economy, and we felt that this was the better approach. And we wanted to get to this point where we could actually see some proposals. We got long held up in the health department, but finally we passed that. And so now we're finally at the point, after all these years, where we can consider some tourism-style proposals and see what the community response is.
Sure.
But those who say, well, we don't want any of those things, we just want a park, that ship has sailed, I'm sorry, but we have viable proposals now.
No, Hampton Bays needs more things on the tax rolls. We should, I'm in that camp. I always wanted to see it revitalized and bring more tourism into town, so.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I grew up in the tourism industry and hotel industry, and this property, it's right across from a market that used to be called the Hamlet Market. I'm not sure what it's called. It's next to a bar, restaurant, a station. It's walking distance from a number of restaurants. It's a walk to the beach, or certainly a bike to the beach. It's like the perfect spot for a tourism-related use that, and I wanted to show, by this personally, that some of these rundown properties could be economically viable, that they could be invested in and turned into profitable properties, that there was another path other than the town just buying them and tearing them down. As you know, the town bought, Hidden Cove.
Right.
The town bought, I think, we bought a bunch of nightclubs, Neptunes and Summers. That I think that there is another path other than just the town stepping in with preservation dollars. So that's where we are.
Agreed.
Okay. So Janice?
So is it that so all these proposers are going to look at that 1862?
We want three things, right?
Okay.
We want a rendering from the street.
Mm-hmm.
We want showing of compliance with the health department flow.
And
we
FEMA, right?
want a certification of some sort, some letter saying that they would be willing to pay 1.2 million for the property. Now, I don't know how we're gonna go, do we wanna do something, a minimum of 1.2? If they wanna pay more than that, are we gonna stop them?
Yeah,
I don't think you should stop
don't-
with anyone from
right.
wanting to
I don't
give
think we're
them
at-
more money, but we're not
yeah.
here to make a profit,
I
but
think
we're
we-
also not here to turn
Right.
anything away.
I think we're
down.
focusing on the
It's not gonna
planning
be
and
profit, because
design.
anything above 1.2 goes into blight mitigation.
I think
Right.
we should get a current appraisal on what the property is currently
Yeah, you
worth.
should probably get a current appraisal. That's an important point. I think that's important.
As under what?
Yeah, I
use?
think before you
Well, that's-
get fixated on a price, let's,
Right. Let's continue this discussion
I think
on
that-
planning and design, I think is the first thing. Then we can talk about, we can do a sealed bid process at some point if we have, we
We
still
don't
have
have
people
to
who are
sell this at
interested.
appraised value. You could appraise it as $2 million property. It doesn't, but that could be somebody looking at it saying this could be 3 homes and each home is worth, each lot is worth 600 or 700.
but that's contingent on the proposals meeting the certain set of criteria that we put out for them. And how they do that, that's their business.
The idea was not necessarily to make a profit on reselling the land. It was to
Exactly.
get a use of the land
Right, right,
that is beneficial to the community.
right,
That's right.
right, exactly.
So-
And that's part of the plan, and that's part of their renewal plan here.
You know,
So sort of level the proposals to be in line with the sanitary model, or come back and tell us how you're going to, overcome that restriction.
Obtain health department approval,
Yeah,
whichever way you do
we're
it.
gonna get Pine Barren credits, we're gonna get,
Right.
a baby batch system, whatever
Right.
you're gonna do.
Whatever you need to do. Order
And
it.
I'd like some
And
clarification.
Provide renderings and, based on FEMA elevations, or just that you're grading the property to elevation standards.
Well, it's- You're
And
showing compliance
clarification
with
on
FEMA.
energy use, sustainability.
And
that
energy and
stuff.
sustainability,
Yeah.
which we had in the initial one,
Yeah,
All right,
but
so
I think it
Janice,
needs
since
some-
we keep changing this, so now we're up to 5 things. right? You just added FEMA compliance and energy sustainability.
Well, I just meant the renderings should
Yeah.
encapsulate, if you're showing a rendering low, but you really have to have it, elevated,
So
you
why
wanna
don't you
see
s-
that. Or maybe it's not elevated till it gets to the water, or you're elevating the property, we're just trying to get a sense of what we're talking about.
We have 3 groups that have spent considerable amount of time and expense getting to this point, so I don't want to confuse everybody too much. So you want to send them a letter and say, prior to the next work session, which will be in Hampton Bays, with the community of Hampton Bays, we need to make sure your proposal complies with these 5 elements, whatever it is. Please submit, whatever it is you need to show compliance, and we are planning a meeting on such and such a date. It looks like probably going to be January
Mm-hmm.
for that date.
Okay.
I personally, and not to rush this, but it has sat for a long time. I would like to get the property transferred, get somebody in front of the planning board, for building permits.
Okay, so
So-
January, we'll plan for a public work session.
But
Can we find out too how much the bulkhead has to be enhanced? Because that is quite an eyesore there, and I believe it slopes off. The level could have to be raised quite a bit, and what available dock space might be there.
Were you asking them to do that, or we're
No, I'm
gonna do it?
asking Janice to find that out to me.
Janice to assess the.
Well, it's functional, but I mean,
You've
what
been
would,
there.
but I mean, I don't know.
Obviously,
I don't want to
whoever
get
builds is
surprised
gonna
on
have
this
to have it
with
in
the
compliance.
trustees and
so-
make sure that, the responsibility where that's lying, because that's an art.
That's
I
not
don't want to
sure.
burden Janice with that. I just feel like
No,
whoever
but when we
builds it
ask
has
the
to build it in
question,
compliance.
that's-
We can arrange to have them have a site visit, they can have their engineers or whoever they want. They can-
Well, Rich, you already looked at the bulkhead. You said you were gonna replace it.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you have to raise it?
I had the DEC there.
Okay.
the DEC
What
has
my
been
guy's
there.
saying is, It's pulling away from the land, and if we don't get it done very soon, we're gonna lose.
How many feet is it? The bulkhead? How long is it?
I believe it's 150.
150 feet long, the whole bulkhead?
Yeah.
So that's not a, no, I can't be
This
that.
entire thing is 165 on the survey.
165, wow.
Here all the way down.
That's 150, but
All right.
Yeah, so
it's pulling away, so.
I didn't realize it was that big of a long of a
Yeah,
bulkhead.
the integrity of that whole channel depends on that.
On that bulkhead.
Yeah,
Well, everyone
right.
has to be willing, in addition to their investment, to deal with the bulkhead. That's not on
Yeah.
our, it's all as is.
So it's a,
Yeah, actually, you're right,
so
yeah.
what, are you looking like
That's a good point.
75,000? And I'm just guessing?
But it's,
Buck and a quarter.
that's part of the property.
150,000 in bulkhead repairs? I guess it's more expensive per foot than I thought.
Depends also on the type of bulkhead.
What do you
Baby
figure?
bulkhead.
800,000 foot? So, I mean, there's gonna be costs associated with building this that are gonna be surprises. Everybody knows who's in construction. Well, you guys have the opportunity to look at it. You'd be buying the property as is, you'd be responsible for demolishing the building. So,
So, can I ask a question?
yeah,
The RFP made a representation that the town was gonna bring it through permitting under its ownership. Is that still what's gonna happen?
the RFP did mention that we would sort of shepherd it through.
I don't think we will. I think it's best to give that, I don't know if you want to come to the microphone?
Yeah.
Come on.
You're right, that we initially, our plan was that we
So a
would
lot
get
of
the
things changed
permits.
since we issued the RFP, which I feel bad because but I
Very
think that
different
us,
plans.
the things that would have to happen is if there's some kind of zoning action, that the board would take that zoning action if it was necessary in
If we had to rezone it,
We
or,
do it on our own motion, you say, the town would.
You
zone
could
it.
probably, like, one of them was
Whichever.
SC40, a floating zone designation, if everyone loved that proposal for the senior, you could land it, senior floating
Right.
zone or something. But us going to the planning board on your behalf wouldn't work for us.
Right.
So
Well-
now, as of now, so you have to like take that into
But
consideration.
we
Okay,
could-
because that's a departure from the RFP, because
A
it's a
little
pretty
bit,
small
yeah.
project to, be buckled in for a year or two over here, in
I
the building
mean,
department
you know,
and all of that.
It's up to the
It's something
board.
you'd
I
have to
mean,
take
you
into
could think about
consideration.
that.
Right.
Well,
Well, you guys might
initially,
wanna-
we thought we would, but then it's sort of becoming like, well,
I would want the
we
planning
don't
board
like our
involved.
Well, they
own
have to-
boards, do when we have to.
Yeah, but I don't, we don't want to
It's really up to you.
No,
It's
no,
not
The
no,
R-
like-
I think we can
he's
take it through
correct in
zoning
that
and
the
then let
RF,
them go
not
to
the
planning
RFP,
board.
but the urban renewal plan, and thank you for reading it, it did say that.
Yeah, that's what, I will say that's like the representation that we put our proposal based upon was that it said you were gonna obtain all necessary approvals, which would technically include health department, DEC,
Right,
which you don't need DEC.
once we picked the plan, that we would then go and get the approvals for it before
Right.
we sold it.
Which is an intelligent way to do it,
Yeah,
considering the
and
lead
I'm
times for all
not
those
opposed
things.
to that. I mean, if we chose one of these three proposals, that we could shepherd it through the process, saying that.
The planning process, but like to go back to the health department.
So we were gonna
again, I
sell
would
it with
ask
the
not to
permits
do
in
that.
place,
Yeah, but if.
right?
they-
But that's also gonna add then to our costs, because we're gonna have to hire somebody to.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily, you can, enter into contract with whomever it is to purchase it, contingent upon you guys bringing it through the process, and the selected, bidder can be responsible to produce all the plans and do all of the design work and engineering, just provide that to the, in concert with the town. I thought that was kind of your intent, was to make
It
sure
was.
that there was
That's
a
fine,
pen
and
stroke there.
then You're going in front of these boards, it's really the town going in front of the boards in
Right.
partnership with the developer,
Right,
which is what this urban renewal plan was supposed to
Yeah,
be. It was a
absolutely.
partnership.
yeah.
I'm okay with that, Janice. As it was just described, where they do all the surveying, but it's where they're partners.
Right.
Yeah, once we select that, then we really are the partners. Whatever design we end up selecting, then we kind of are partners, at least through zone
Yeah,
change.
but they have to know what that is, because
Sure.
in
Yeah.
determining your
Of course.
price,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
no,
So
Yeah, it's really
I think-
about the lead time between when you're expecting us to close and
Right.
all of the hurdles we're gonna have to
You
go through on
can't
approval.
exactly sell it and then find that they can't get through planning board. It's not-
Exactly.
it's
No,
just not
everything can
fair.
be subject to, yeah, right. That's-
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Sit back
so that's fine.
Thanks.
Except for our health department is based on the current use, so like, we would have to figure that out, if it's a different use.
Or the health department, or the.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily,
Or the
the
zoning.
health department is based on the motel use that is today.
Well, they gave us a flow.
Yes, based
Right.
on, but if we wanna go back and say, okay, well, I wanna be, whatever, 16 rentals,
Well,
They
no,
would have to
whatever the
reassess
plan is
that.
has to comply with that flow.
yes.
Yeah, the 1862.
Tell them this is what we want to
Right.
But that's still, the development plan itself still needs to go to them,
Yeah,
that's
right,
just-
but it has to comply.
Okay.
The zoning, I understand, but
All
not.
right, any
Yeah, not from
other
there on,
questions?
so.
Yeah, Janice, I'm not trying to create more work for you. I promise. If we have to hire somebody,
Yeah, we'll
as an
figure it out.
expediter or whatever it
That's
is, we
fine.
can do that.
That would be great, because, it's,
I think that they just basically want to know that it's the town's proposal, not a private entity, it's actually the town going in front of its own planning board.
mhm.
It's the,
I understand.
the town, right?
Yeah, the county, the health department is fine for us to handle on our own.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
And I think that, we have to show up to the building department with the health department approval,
Right.
one way or the other.
Right.
In order to get there, we gotta get all the other board approvals here first.
right.
Right.
I think it'd be good to have, you approach it, health department now and say, hey, is this possible? And I gotta get to a certain number, how do I do it? And, is it feasible to get to what number you need on all three of proposals?
We're gonna use your flow and do an as-of-right application to the health.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, everybody's gonna, I think, or unless they are using
Or they
credits.
feel they can do board review.
Or sewage treatment.
Primary credits, or whatever, whatever they get to where they need to get to.
But if they're doing sewage treatment and it needs variances, that's a whole different.
Different issue.
Different, this
That's
is,
what I don't wanna,
yeah, we don't wanna really get involved with
yeah,
that, so.
all right.
So you might wanna look to see how you can comply with the flow using IA systems, all right? All right,
Okay, so
thank
I'll
you.
send everyone a letter to that.
We'll send a letter. We really appreciate, the time you guys are spending on this, and we're hoping to
My
choose
agenda.
one of you and move this
Do
thing
you have my
forward,
agenda?
all right?
Thank you.
Sit out
Thank you.
That's the Scott handed me when I got on the board, it is.
Thank you, Janice.
It was in those papers somewhere.
That's what I got handed to me. Everything that's.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
And I don't know how it, where it went.
You can send us whatever help part of this. Yeah. Cool.
Right next to that,
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye.
sorry, I came asked you.
No, it's my fault. I
good. I'm glad it was
picked
changed.
everything up and it went with it.
It's a 100%
Does anyone
chance
else
of
want to give
rain
me
and
back
40
some
miles an hour.
stuff?
Does this sound like,
Different things.
That's my
Does
anniversary.
anyone want to give me back
Was
the
that the other
plans?
thing?
Tonight.
I could give you here
It was
this.
supposed to be last night, they moved it to
Yeah,
tonight.
on Tuesday night, I'm driving home. and
You want the other stuff or no?
WLNG a lot. And you're saying,
I can have all these put online, or I can wait until they're all ready. I think we should wait.
I was.
You can take those, sir.
I guess it is.
Um,
I'll be right there.
All
They
right,
need
so
to
we're-
change their proposal.
Yeah, it
So,
does need to change
let's
them, so I'm-
compare
Maybe
more
a lot of
apples
people
to
listen to
apples.
WLG.
Pretty good, it must.
They, was last night you said it was that?
No, Tuesday night.
Oh.
Because LNG said it was
They
going
haven't
on,
decided on that yet.
they said it was going on that night. So there's a ton of cars there. So I'm like, that must be going on. And then East Oak, so I'm saying, oh, it was like last night, it was rain, I guess it was rain out.
All right, so we'll wait for John. All right,
Same today, right?
Tonight. The loan's gonna be there anyway, so.
So we're gonna continue on. Let's do some updates. I'm gonna try to keep this relatively brief because we have a lot of stuff to do in executive session. Just some updates. So we closed on the Burden property, right, Jim? We own that now?
Yes.
This is
Yeah,
the
Burden is
property in
closed.
Watermill where we're gonna create a new park. We've hired Chris LaGuardia, landscape architect, to work with us in designing a park. It's gonna provide great waterfront access in the Watermill Hamlet area. It's beautiful. I looked at it just the other day. I drove it to see, all the, obviously, structures have been torn down, and it's drivable. It's just the water there is really beautiful. It's really a very special spot. It's gonna be a great park, and also, finally, the Brewster House, after a long time, is finally down.
Yeah, nice job.
That was that big blue house,
It's one in itself.
the 24, State Route 24, that's good.
Hamlet of Flanders.
Was that?
Flanders.
Flanders, yep.
We're close to closing on 1040 and even 1140 we get there too, so.
And obviously, we got the health department approval on Bel Air, that was a big deal, finally. Janice worked really hard on that. Big Duck Lighting, it's county, town, sort of, it's mostly county, even though the property's ours, the Big Duck is theirs. It's tonight, 7 o'clock-ish. It's a lot of fun if you've never been, but the traffic can be really, leave a little bit early because it tends to take a while to get to the Big Duck. Talk about the Big Duck Lighting. And what else can I share? I had a good meeting, Supervisors Association, Suffolk County Supervisors Association. Talk about sort of a unified front on the tax cap issue. As I mentioned before, that all the towns sort of struggled with the tax cap not taking into account consumer price index or inflation. Everybody seems to be going through the same issues, even the western towns, with being able to recruit, some frustrations with civil service, except for Babylon, which has their own civil service. But, trying to get on the same page. We talked a little bit about accessory dwelling units and the need to retain local control. I think it's really important. Fred Thiel has a bill that has some incentives, which I think is the right approach to deal with the creating accessory dwelling units rather than more of the the stick approach, the carrot approach rather than the stick approach. What else? I think that's pretty much covers, waste management was an issue that came up too. The need for a rail terminal is really important. Brookhaven in particular, they can't keep their landfill open much longer. I think it's not even sure what aspects of it are open still today, but they're looming in terms of their closure. So if, rather than trucking all the waste out of Suffolk County, to at least be able to load it at rail terminals. And I think Winter Brothers may have bought the property in Yaphank.
They did, yeah.
And then they have another facility, I think in Lindenhurst or something. But, showing some support for, thinking about the future and how we're going to manage our waste. Railing the waste could provide some economic stability. The cost of trucking is so expensive, so that came up too. I'm trying to think of any other updates. Anybody have, Cindy, have anything you want to share?
Briefly, I was asked to speak about the Dark Skies Committee is having an event, Enjoying the Night Skies, at Bay Gardens. They were asking me to promote it. It's Friday night. They actually sold it out, so there's no need to promote it. And the East Quogue Holiday on Main that was scheduled for Saturday because of the rain forecast is being moved to Sunday night. So that will be the East Quogue Holiday on Main and East Quogue's tree lighting as well.
Rick?
Nothing to.
Let me just mention something too that I forgot to mention too. So Frank has been working on the survey that we're sending out to Hampton Bays. We're getting closer and closer. I'm still getting some comments in from people who want to modify it here or there. So I've asked Frank sort of to come back to you guys with some of the proposed changes, which I think are positive. And the listening sessions, I didn't do one. I'm not doing one today, but I'm back next Thursday and the following Thursday, I believe. So people need to, I think they may already be full, but there might be some slots available, so people have to check online. And but they have been going really well. It's been really productive, really interesting conversations about the future of downtown Hampton Bays. Tommy John, you have any updates?
I do. Last month, our Youth Bureau sponsored a trip to Albany, and that was done in conjunction with the West Hampton Middle School. We took 36 kids to Albany, and they wrote bills and debated bills in the legislative chamber up in Albany. Very impressive. The kids did great. I want to thank outstanding educator Kelly Massaro, along with Sharice Miller, the principal of the middle school, as well as Dr. Probst of West Hampton Beach. They really supported it, and of course Kara Back, who really put the whole thing together. But most importantly, the kids did a fantastic job, truly outstanding. They won a lot of accolades up there, so we're proud of them. This is the 5th year that Southampton Town has been promoting youth in government. It's an excellent program with a mediocre name, but their motto is democracy must be learned by every generation. And in the United States, we have a unique form of democracy, so it's important to teach our children civics. That's one thing. Very proud. The Noyac Civic Council, in conjunction with Southampton Parks and Rec, will be hosting a volunteer event at Long Beach. You're all invited. On December 10th, we are going to be planting grass on the Tombolo of Long Beach between Noyac and North Haven, and that is going to start at 10 o'clock. So that's important. There are sections of the beach that don't have grass, so we're going to be putting grass in. Rain date on December 11th. But I want to thank the Noyac Civic Council. They've been really active in their volunteer efforts, and Kristen Doulos from the Parks Department, who has been setting this up with Cornell Cooperative. She's doing a fantastic job.
There's a rain date for that. Isn't rain?
There's a rain date. I know.
Isn't rain good for grass?
Well, it is. But if it's raining in December and the wind is blowing,
Yeah.
so, safety first and all that.
All right. Anything else?
Rain date, by the way, is the next day. No, that's all.
John?
No, I'm good for today.
One other thing I'll mention, the town engineer is still crunching the numbers on the blinking light program that we ran. So when he is finished with that, he will present to the board in work session the results of that program. And there may be still a few more weeks. All right. Okay, we do have some executive session items. So we still have some personnel matters that we didn't finish in the first work session, and then we have acquisitions, and we have confidential legal advice. So we are scheduled for 1:30, though I think we can probably gather before then.
Take our
I'm
break
thinking
at
even 1
1:30.
o'clock.
Or
Okay.
take our break at 1:30 when.
Do you want to do
Sometimes
that,
we-
or, I think that if we take a break, a quick lunch break now and gather at, can we, is 20 minutes enough for you guys to get something to eat?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then 1 o'clock, we'll reconvene, and we can start with the personnel stuff, and that we weren't able to finish earlier, and then we'll take on some of these other things. All right, so I'll make a motion to end our work session and go into executive session on the items I articulated.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.